So we have a difference on the capacity of the cards, and the MIMO, and the overall throughput is different. But aside from that, the look and feel is identical. So we're going to show you that. Also, we started with the Highway 9 team as a software-only solution. So what that does is we can emulate the UE and the RAN together. So this kind of whole block to test the core. So we can inject traffic directly on N2 or S1, depending if it's 4G or 5G. And so, you've got that choice of either you can have a purely software solution from us where all this is emulated in software, or we have a hardware version with this unit we're going to be looking at today, which then goes over the air as a looking like a set of real UEs. Basically, this is a test room that we have, and shows the UE Emulator unit. Has a little screen on the front showing its control IP address, whether it's running or not, and this one's currently not running yet. Could you show us the back connectors, Trevor, just how that's connected on the back? Yeah. So depending on the model, you have there's a different capacity card. This is a 2x2, so you see there's 2 RX and 2 TX separated. So you're able to then combine them in any combination that you wish to do. And then there's a separate 5th connector, which is the GPS connector, right? So they're available there to connect up however you want. And so in this particular case, it's we're connected to another unit, which will be the base station is close by in that area. So this is the same unit that we were looking at. So IP address happens to be 7.77. And so the idea is you've got a set of environments. So what you would have is possibly, environment 1 for a certain base station. You could have another environment for another one. If Kishore can edit that, take a little look at that. So this might be a little hard to see. Maybe we can scale that up a little. But what it shows then is all the parameters for how many antennas, how much bandwidth you want per cell, per set of UEs. What is the ERFCN or the NR-ARFCN value? So you can set all the cells up whichever exact frequency you want. There's all kinds of other settings, how the initial gain and so on, and what kind of test you want to set it up for. So it can support things like ping, it can do iPerf, it can do VoLTE IMS. So you can feed in any other data into the tunnels. So this tool is basically creating the tunnels and then either running a test directly or letting another application run a test. So in the diagram I showed at the beginning, we can look back at that later, but what it had was the unit, and then behind that is a laptop. So you could have, iPerf client, or you could have IMS, VoLTE, or any other application, HTTP, FTP, whatever type of traffic you want to put through it. You can do that once you have the tunnels up, right? Once the UE has its bearer up, you can run any kind of application level test you want to do. So what we're going to show today is, I believe, iPerf. And so we have an iPerf server off network and just outside of the unit. So obviously the closer that is to the box, the less additional delay and latency you're going to have. I'm not sure how ours is configured, but we have an iPerf server somewhere. Sometimes we use a public one, sometimes we have a local one, and I think this is a local one. So it's just running iPerf from the command line. And we support there's iPerf 2, iPerf 3, different versions. If you have a preference, you can set that up. I believe this one is using iPerf 2. We have some customers using iPerf 3 as well. So yeah, so Kishore's just starting the server on the other end of the box. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that config then, Kishore, as it is. So the concept is it's all browser based. You hit load when you're ready to start. This is all automatable, so we're using a REST API just to press these buttons. Actually, it's all REST controlled. So anything you see us do here, you can do through the REST API as well. Now, Kishore has also the dashboard open and the journal. So these are just different log views, really metrics views that you can look at and see what's happening as the equipment is coming up. I believe we might have Wireshark as well running. Is that right, Kishore, that we can just see what's happening on the wire as well. Yeah, right. Great. Yeah, so we're just positioning that. Perfect. Yeah, so we're looking at the the view from the core side. So if you look at the RAN and the core side is in the right hand Wireshark. So we've got NG setup request, setup response. That's the 5G SA base station coming up connected to the core. And then when we're ready, then we start the attaches. So you can see things are starting to happen. Got the metrics ready. Yeah, kind of running out of screen real estate a little bit. So you can select here, the number, how many concurrent UEs, what kind of length of sessions do you want, what kind of gap do you want between it. So that's all programmable to say what kind of profile do you want for each of the UEs. And you can do that on an individual basis. From the UI, it's set for pretty much all of the UEs that you want in that batch up to the 256. But if you're using the API, you could say, I want to do the first UE, keep it up for 30 seconds, power it off after 30 seconds, but keep the second one up for longer. You can control each one on an individual basis. But in this graphical UI, it's you're just going to say, okay, all of those, we can have a randomized profile between them. So the length can be randomized or is randomized between the minimum and maximum values. But otherwise, they're all going to be kind of behaving similarly in this case. All right, so when you're ready, Kishore, hit the start on that. Yeah, so maybe Kishore can just highlight some of the main points there. So we see the GTP session there that's doing to our iPerf server. You can see that on the blue on the right, on the trace, but also in the dashboard, whichever one you want to focus on, Kishore, if you want to show that. Okay, so once the connection is established, then it starts the session with that unique IP address. So you can see on the right, you see in the blue, you have at the top of the screen, there's 10.0.0.4, 10.0.0.5. So each UE is getting an address assigned by the core with a unique IP address, right, for each of the 64 UE. So you can see that as it tracks up and counts up. So each one of those, you can either look at you get all the S1. Well, this is looking at the core side, right? So we can see the attached details and then the GTP level details. The dashboard on the UE emulator is showing the metrics across all the UEs. But you can also dig into, I think in the event log view, right, or the event view, we can see like like what's happening per IMSI. So if you wanted to filter at the top, you could pick, do you want to pick, say, the first one, Kishore? Like just pick anyone really. Yeah, so it will just tell you like what happens. So if there's any errors that you flag errors in here, you can see the type. That one's an informational. So errors come up as errors. So it would tell you if there's if there's a problem, you can search across that by the IMSI. In addition, did you want to show the live report, Kishore, as well? Should just look at that. So this also has some other counters and gives you information on when the system was started and what's going on across the whole system. So some of these the data is there put into the database, but then how that's pulled out, we've got journal as a kind of a record of what happened for that total run. The dashboard is a live view, so we use Grafana in that live view to just kind of show what's happening at any given moment. So you can look at these different things depending on what you want to look at. It's all accessible from the REST API as well. So if you just want to pull out, you might want to just look at one particular metric. And so you could do that, directly as well. So if you, maybe we can share that, Kishore. If you just do after the 777, do the API 1 report on the URI and like just API/1/report. Yeah, so if your automation is looking at this, which you'll probably want to do, then you can see the start time, the stop time in UTC, and then what configuration was loaded. So it was environment default 5G SA, and in the version, all the other kind of versioning information, and then the metrics. So if you want to look at what is the RNTI or DL count the parameters that we have available in the database are all published to here, so you can see and pull out those particular, metrics as you want.